wish it had all been otherwise, for then I would have been someone else entirely, and she does not exist. I do. But I can wish that the young women who come after me might skip some of the old obstacles, and some of my writing has been toward that end, at least by naming those obstacles. 2. Another mirror story. When I was about 11, there was a shoe store where my mother got me the engineer boots I favored back when I was trying not to be that despised thing, a girl, and was trying to be what seemed like a separate thing, rugged, ready for action. But something else made the shoe store memorable. If you stepped in front of the mirrors that lined both sides of the central aisle, you could see an image of an image of an image of an image of yourself, or the shoe stools, or anything, each one more watery and dim and remote, stretching onward, beyond, seemingly forever, as though an ocean lay in there with the reflections, and you were seeing farther and farther into the sea-green depths. It wasn't the self I was trying to catch sight of then, but the beyond. Beyond every beginning is another beginning, and another, and another. But my first ride, 8 years later, on the 5 Fulton bus could be a place to start, that bus line that bisects the city, running from downtown by San Francisco Bay all the way west out Fulton Street to the Pacific Ocean. The main thrust of this story happens in the middle of that route, in the middle of the city. But just for a moment, stay on the bus straining uphill past the Jesuit church whose towers catch the morning light, onward along the big park on the south side of the street, and avenue after avenue of houses, less and less densely packed, on earth that is really only sand, to that sandy stretch meeting the Pacific Ocean that covers almost a third of the planet. Sometimes the whole sea looks like a mirror of beaten silver, though it's too turbulent to hold many reflections. It's the bay that carries a reflected sky on its surface. On the most beautiful days, there are no words for the colors of San Francisco Bay and the sky above it. Sometimes the water reflects a heaven that is both gray and gold, and the water is blue, is green, is silver, is a mirror of that gray and gold, catching the warmth and cold of colors in its ripples, is all and none of them, is something more subtle than the language we have. Sometimes a bird dives into the mirror of the water, vanishing into its own reflection, and the reflective surface makes it impossible to see what lies beneath. Sometimes at the birth and death of a day, the opal sky is no color we have words for, the gold shading into blue without the intervening green that is halfway between those colors, the fiery warm colors that are not apricot or crimson or gold, the light morphing second by second, so the sky is more shades of blue than you can count, as it fades from where the sun is to the far side of where other colors are happening. If you look away for a moment, you miss a shade, for which there will never be a term, and it is transformed into another and another. The names of the colors are sometimes cages containing what doesn't belong there, and this is often true of language generally, of the words like woman, man, child, adult, safe, strong, free, true, black, white, rich, poor. We need the words, but use them best, knowing they are containers forever spilling over and breaking open. Something is always beyond. 3. Sometimes a gift is given, and neither giver nor recipient know what its true dimensions are, and what it appears to be at first is not what it will be in the end. Like beginnings, endings have endless recessions, layers atop the layers, consequences that ripple outward. One winter Sunday, when I was young, ignorant, poor, and almost friendless, I went to look at an apartment for rent. I'd found the listing in the want ads of the newspaper, a few tiny lines of information in that dense gray grid, mostly describing places out of my price range. People had laughed at me when I said I was looking for something for $200 a month, a rock-bottom price even then, but I couldn't afford any more that last semester of my undergraduate education, that third year of my financial independence. At the time I went house hunting, I lived in a tiny room with a window onto a